Today we're going to talk about why every real estate agent needs a coach. Let me be really honest with you. If you're trying to build a real estate career and you're not coaching with somebody, you are flying blind. You probably don't need more hustle, but what you need is a map, a strategy. In this video, I am going to break down why coaching is really important, how it'll help you avoid big mistakes, how it'll give you direction, purpose, and a plan that you can actually commit to and that you can actually execute. By working with a coach, you're not only going to save a lot of time building your career, but you're going to make a lot of money. I've been watching agents for over 50 years, and one thing I notice is most of them are flying blind and most of them do not have a coach. What happens is they don't grow, they burn out, and they don't scale, and they can't figure out why. I've personally worked with coaches my entire life. When I work with coaches, I am way more focused, more strategic. I have an exact plan to follow, and I'm able to commit and to execute. Those moments where I don't have coaches, I kind of show up every day because I'm a super disciplined guy, but I'm not as clear, I'm not as focused, I'm not as strategic, and I'm actually not as productive. Agents I've watched and coached myself or have worked with other coaches, they are the ones that excel. They're the ones that are focusing not only in their business day to day, but also on their business. And I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. But working with a coach is going to fast track you to success. This video right here is about any agent that's really serious in leveling up their business. This is for agents that really want to take it to the next level. Most agents struggle. In fact, I think it was quoted by NAR that 75% of the agents have not done a deal in the last 12 months. That's pretty scary. That's what you're entering into if you go into this business. Another statistic is that 87% of agents quit after 5 years. You want to know why? Because they run out of money and they don't see a future. Here's what they do wrong. They don't have a plan. They wake up every morning, they arrive at the office, or they get up, they don't know what to do, they can't figure it out. So what ends up happening, and I see this a lot, is they jump from lily pad to lily pad. They chase every single shiny penny that rolls down the street. They have no focus, no direction. If they see this realtor doing that, they copy them. And when it doesn't work, they see that realtor doing that, they copy them. It doesn't work, and they don't have any idea what to do. Trying to learn from YouTube or TikTok or these little social media feeds, make sure you're looking at the source. But it's more than that. If it was that easy, everyone would do it. So when you work with a coach and you talk with them weekly, that coach is going to pull out of you specifically your strengths, your weaknesses, what you need to work on, a roadmap for success, what to focus on first, how to scale, how to grow, how to do all these different things, even help you solve deal problems, transactional problems, because you need someone to bounce ideas off. You need somebody to explore possibilities and opportunity. And coaches are really good at pulling that out of you. You know, we talk a little bit about working in the business. And what I mean by that is when an agent has something to work on, they focus on it 100%. When they get a listing, you know, it's launching that listing, it's marketing that listing, it's showing the listing, it's opening escrow, closing escrow. And during that time, when they're working on that listing and focusing on it, they stop working on their business. They're what we call being in the business. And that's why I've always said this controversial statement that once you make a sale, you're out of business, because you probably don't have the systems and the processes and the support around you to keep prospecting while you have transactions. And that's why so many agents, when they put a few deals in escrow and get a few listings, and then they sell those listings and they close those escrows, they pull their heads up out of the sand, they look around, and they go, oh my gosh, what am I going to sell now? What am I going to work on now? And that's what creates huge gaps in your business. And if there's one thing all real estate agents are trying to solve, is to reduce the time between deals, to have that deal flow consistent so you're not going from check to mouth or just waiting on checks, because you have a constant flow. We call it a shift from a transaction mentality to a shift in a pipeline mentality. And working with a coach is going to help you develop that pipeline mentality and also the system structure and support to build a pipeline and to maintain a pipeline so that you can shrink the gaps between deals. Now let me talk a little bit about what a coach actually does. Let's start first with they give you clarity. Okay, what do I mean by clarity? So let's talk about clarity on where you should focus. Should you focus on buyers? Should you focus on listings? You need to focus on prospecting, marketing. What about building systems? What about building a support group around you to help your business function and run efficiently? What about creating a service model? There are so many things, and depending on where you are in your career cycle, you would be needing to focus on different things at different times. And this is where a coach really comes in and helps you, because they're looking at you from 10,000 feet down, where you're like kind of in the trenches and in the mix of it and can't see clearly. And so they will actually help you gain clarity on what you need to focus on. Additionally, they're going to give you clarity on what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, where the opportunities are, where your competitors are, your threats, how to work to minimize those issues, and to build a business that I like to call is sustainable and repeatable. And that's what every agent is trying to solve. The second advantage is the accountability it creates. Just being on the weekly calls, bringing something to those calls to talk about, not just relying on the coach to kind of tell you what to do every single day. It's working with the coach in more of a partnership so that you get to know each other and get to really work on the things that are important for growing your business. And this is where coaches are so valuable, because you'll come to them with a problem, the two of you can discuss it. Then that coach, if they're really experienced at what they're doing, are going to say, do X, Y, and Z, and you'll get to where you want to go. So that accountability, showing up weekly, being prepared for your coaching appointment, never missing, and then being accountable to what they tell you to do is really the key. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with agents, and we sit down and we talk for an hour and we create a great plan, and they're going to do X, Y, and Z, and they're going to have it done by X. And then I don't hear from them for 30 days. And when I run into them, I go, hey, how's it going? Did you get those things accomplished? 9 times out of 10, they say no. So that accountability to a coach is extremely important, because you have to do what you say you're going to do, and you need someone to hold you accountable to it. The next thing that coaches should be good at helping you with is creating a custom strategy. Why do we call it a custom strategy? Because there's a zillion ways to skin this cat selling real estate, and nobody's the same. I mean, there are some agents that don't have pictures in their ads, they don't market, they don't advertise, they're not on social media, but they know how to work their network better than anybody else. There's also people that have gone the extreme other way. They're on TV shows, they're celebrities, they're Instagram stars. They do all these different things to market themselves that way. And there's a whole range of business models in between those two extremes. Being clear on not only what you're willing to do, but what you will do versus what you won't do, and then executing to that plan is something that has to be customized for you, your personality, your skill set, and for your dreams and desires, and even how you want to live. I know so many agents that would love to be on a TV show. I also know a ton of agents it's the last thing they'd want to do. I also know agents that can just walk into a supermarket and walk out with a listing just because they have such great personalities. So once you understand who you are as a person and your coach does, you can develop a plan that's custom for you, that you're going to not only be successful at doing, but that you'll be comfortable doing, and that is key. And the final thing, they're going to give you shortcuts to avoid mistakes that you would almost guaranteed will make if you do it by process and elimination and experimentation. But coaches have probably made the mistakes before you, so they can tell you, don't go over there. That will end up bad. Go this way instead. And even if it's against your instincts, one of the most important things to do is to trust your coach. Just like when Tiger overhauled his golf swing. I'm sure he was a little bit worried about that. But the coach kept him in the sessions. They kept working on it and working on it and working on it. And he won 4 more Masters. And that is the key, is to trust your coach. Avoid the mistakes by listening to someone that's gone before you. Here is a huge misconception. I'm not going to hire a coach right now because I don't have the money. I'll get a coach once I start making more money. That's like saying, I'm going to go to the gym once I'm in shape. Doesn't make sense, does it? You need a coach right now to help you make money. Coaching is how you accelerate your career and accelerate your income. It's not a reward for doing well. You don't even need a coach if you just need a friend. Coaches are designed to be tough to challenge you, to make you do things maybe you don't want to do, to keep you on track, to hold you accountable. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity, and you need to hire a coach now. I had this one coach, he was great. So the first thing he said was, hey, Peter, you have a way of reducing things to their most simplest form so that you can execute them well and consistently and on time. He said a lot of people complicate things, they overanalyze things, but you have a way of cutting to the chase. So trust your instincts and act on it and go. And that's something I've always done, and it's always proven to be very effective for me. The other thing he said to me was this. He said, if there are things in your life, either personally or in business, that you haven't gotten to, that need to be done, that are unfinished tasks, do them first. Get it done. Because these are the things that are permeating into everything else you do, especially your business. Let me give you an example. Let's say every day you walk out to the car, and as you're approaching your car, you keep saying to yourself, gosh, this garage needs cleaning. What you don't realize is every time you do that and you never stop to clean the garage, you are programming yourself to not do things. And you're also making it okay for you not to do it. Or worse yet, you're beating yourself up for not doing it. So his advice to me, which I do today, is if you notice these things in your life, these untied shoelaces, these things in business you keep saying you're gonna do that you don't, and you're also making it okay for you not to do it. Or worse yet, you're beating yourself up for not doing it. His advice to me, which I do today, is if you notice these things in your life, these untied shoelaces, these things in business you keep saying you're gonna do that you don't do, the things personally you keep saying you're gonna do that you don't do, get those done immediately. I remember this one person that hired this coach, and their business took off. They started doing everything the coach was saying. They were prospecting, they were focused, they were getting into the office early, they were leaving later. Their business wasn't haphazard, it wasn't transactional. They were actually building a pipeline, and it was going really well. Then the agent took their foot off the gas, they fired their coach. I watched their whole business fall apart to the point where they not only lost all their business, but they actually quit the business. It was so sad to see because they were on their way to being a huge success. By letting go of their coach strategy and plan, everything went away just like that. Missed, smoked. Well, I don't know what's happened to that person since, but I wish them well, and I hope they get a coach again, because once they do, they'll get right back on track. What to look for in a good coach? I always make it a priority to make sure that person has done well what you're trying to do. In other words, have they been successful as a real estate agent? Are they successful at farming? Were they an successful marketer? Did they actually produce the kind of income you're looking to try to produce? In other words, have they done what you're trying to achieve? And if they have, then that's number one. Number two is, do you like them? Do you relate to them? Is this somebody that you could follow and listen to and take their advice and direction and would actually be accountable to? So that would be number two. And finally, number three is, this is a tough one. Do they get you? Do they understand you? Are they trying to work with your strengths and your weaknesses? Or are they just giving you this like cookie cutter approach to real estate? They say the same thing to everybody. It's almost like they're robots. They're not like figuring out like, how can I make this agent really successful? I'm trying to pull from their personality what their brand is and what their service model is based on their personality, who they are and what they do. Looking at their depth in the community or lack thereof, how would I make that person successful in this business? What did they do in previous lives, previous businesses? How can we draw from those experiences to make them successful? A good coach understands the person they're coaching. They know what makes that person tick. They understand their motivation. Do they understand how and why and what you're trying to accomplish? They know how to pull the best out of you. That's what I would think about in your interview when you're looking for a great coach. When you're coaching with somebody, what's really important is a strong structure. Coaches have all different styles of coaching. They coach in groups, they coach individually. If you're coaching individually, make sure that you're talking with them or meeting with them a minimum of once a week. Make sure it's not less than a half hour, preferably an hour once a week. It takes longer than a half hour to talk through things. You might date before you get married, and maybe that's the approach in the beginning, because you want to see if it's a click, if you guys vibe together, if you are working well together. You'll know right away if this person's adding value or not. But before you make that decision, ask yourself, what are you bringing to the table? Are you coming with problems and ideas and things you want to do that you're actually going to ask questions to your coach? Because one thing I know is when I work with a coach, if I don't come with things to talk about, is flat, and they have to start trying to pull stuff out of me. So it's a two-way street with coaching, and it's a dance. And you want to make sure that you're dancing together to a nice waltz. You should also check with other realtors that have worked with this coach. Find out if they're getting results, because I think that's really important too. Ask the coach, who else are you working with? Are those agents people that you would aspire to? See, those kinds of questions are very important too. Ask for some referrals, look to see what kind of reviews they get, and then that'll help you choose your coach as well. So if you're really serious about making more money, working a reasonable amount of hours without burning out isn't optional, it's required. Because the only way that happens is by planning, being strategic, committing to the plan and strategy, and by executing. That's how it happens. And those things happen when you work with a coach. Drop a comment below. If you're looking for a good coach, maybe I can help you find one. Also, if you are a coach, reach out to me. I'd love to connect. Watch for my next video coming out shortly. And again, if you are working with a coach, remember it's a two-way street. You have to bring as much to the table as they do. That you both are working hard together to maximize that time you spend with each other every single week. I can guarantee your business is going to grow. You're going to make a lot of money, and the quality of your life is going to go way up. Thank you.